They say he is almost a god. People in the United States whisper about him. No one has ever been able to tell him no. Steven simply does not understand what the word no means, his mother once said. His films have brought in $5 billion. He possesses a phenomenal gift for business and an extraordinary way of working with a camera. But some say that Steven Spielberg is a strange creature, an old child without a soul. They claim he is angry and cruel, and that all of it began because of something that happened to him many years ago. One night, Arnold Spielberg woke little Steve to show him a rare and wondrous sight, a meteor shower. Half asleep, the boy stood at the window, mesmerized, watching as dazzling balls of cold fire streaked across the dark sky. The ghostly light of the falling meteors burned against his pale cheeks. Soon, the magical shower ended, and everything returned to normal. "Did you like it?" Arnold asked his son, who was sleepily shuffling back to bed. "Yeah, it was beautiful," the boy replied, crawling under the blanket. Then he added unexpectedly, "Someday, all of this will be mine." "What exactly?" Mr. Spielberg wanted to ask, but Steven was already asleep. After that strange night, little Spielberg changed dramatically. Once painfully shy, Steven now would not leave anyone alone. His younger sister Anne suffered the most. He would sneak under her window and howl for hours. "The moon! The moon has come to you!" Each night, the terrified girl lay frozen, forced to listen to his wild serenade, knowing that the daytime would bring no relief. Steven's favorite pastime was to cut the head off his sister's beloved doll, stick it on a knife, and serve it at lunch, between a lettuce leaf and a blood-red tomato. Once, the Spielbergs went to the cinema to see some sci-fi movie about monstrous alien cocoons that swallowed people at night. When they returned home, Steven immediately built his own version of the cocoon and hid it under the bed of another sister. When the girl saw the alien creature, she was so terrified that she lost her voice for an entire year. The evil boy was not liked by the neighbors. For any insult or mockery, he reacted instantly. The names of his enemies were immediately written into the blacklist, Spielberg's personal list. Anyone included in it was promised horrific punishments, from the electric chair to being burned alive. However, those were only fantasies. In reality, Steven's rage was limited to sneaking out at night and smearing his enemies' windows with peanut butter. Once he was caught doing it. The black list was found, and its author was severely whipped. The irritation caused by his peers became a defining trait of his entire future life. His classmates could sense it, and they made sure to pay him back. Once, the entire class went for a cross-country run, and in the end, only 2 boys remained on the track. One was a slow-witted kid, and the other, the future creator of Indiana Jones. How bitter it was for Steven to hear his classmates cheering for the handicapped boy while booing and whistling at him. The walk home from school often turned into a real ordeal. Spielberg had to literally fight his way through a crowd of boys eager to kick him as he passed. They could feel that Steven was different, and they were not going to tolerate it. But one day, Spielberg discovered a way to get even with all his enemies. His weapon was a brand new 8mm movie camera, a long-awaited gift from his father. Now, first of all, he could make reality look the way he wanted it to, not the way it really was. Secondly, he could charge money for his film screenings. And thirdly, the bull-like thugs from the neighboring streets turned into obedient sheep whenever Steven offered them a chance to star in his movies. Even his sister was drawn into the profitable business. Utterly terrified, she agreed to anything. Her duties included selling popcorn and drinks in the improvised movie theater that Steven built in their backyard. All these screenings, for which the local kids had to pay 25 cents per ticket, were Steven's own invention. He quickly realized that filming was only part of the business. Distribution mattered too. To financially support his budding directing career, Spielberg found another source of income. He started a small business growing citrus trees. His grandmother from Australia mailed him lemon seeds. The citrus business proved surprisingly useful. By selling 6 small trees for 75 cents each, he could buy a box of film stock. He used everything for filming: the streets, the nearby hospital, even the local airfield. At 15, Spielberg shot his first full-length feature, Firelight. The 2.5-hour film had a budget of $500, more than half of which was provided by his father. Firelight became Spielberg's first success as a director and as a producer. The enterprising teenager even managed to sell his film to a local cinema. Not only did he recoup his costs, he also made a $50 profit. Getting into the film department at a California college was not easy. For a long time, Spielberg had to visit the studio illegally. He would buy a ticket for a guided tour, hide in a quiet corner, and when everyone left, he would wander through the studio alone. Sometimes he would walk into an office, sit down in a chair, straighten his tie, and think, just as he had as a child. Someday all of this will be mine. And so it happened. In 1967, Universal offered the 21-year-old director a 7-year contract. Stunned, Spielberg objected, "Yes, but I still have a year left in college." "Kid, do you want to study in college or make movies?" To this day, Spielberg loves to tell the story of how, on his first day on set, nobody believed he was the director. A few years later, Spielberg, by then the creator of 2 hits, Duel and The Sugarland Express, was being hailed in newspapers as one of the most phenomenal newcomers in the history of world cinema. However, critics also noted something strange, a kind of childlike quality in his films, an emotional immaturity in his characters and their actions. The young director often gave interviews. When asked what he feared most, Spielberg replied, "Elevators, human relationships, and children." Indeed, Spielberg's relationships with others remained just as complicated and fragile as they had been in his childhood. This was especially true with women. There were 2 of them, Amy Irving and Kathleen Capshaw. His first divorce came with a minor scandal. After their breakup, Mrs. Irving hastened to declare in an interview that she had never met a man more emotionally detached than her former husband. Amy said that Spielberg's favorite pastime was sitting for hours in a dimly lit room, surrounded by bizarre, exotic figurines, strange dolls or little gods of some kind. The maestro would talk to them in the voice of a hurt child, complaining about his unhappy marriage and broken family life. Once a month, for 7 years, the great director gathered his close friends at home to play a supposedly French game that he called Petit Jeu. Each participant had to tell a story from their own life in which they had behaved in a completely inappropriate way. And one day, Mrs. Irving's husband, Spielberg himself, allegedly shared a confession so shocking that everyone was stunned. Amy Irving refused to reveal what exactly he had said, adding only that compared to it, Nabokov's Lolita could be considered required reading for elementary school students. The former wife also complained that Spielberg never saw her as a real person. He would observe her behavior as though she were a laboratory rat, taking notes in a small notebook that he always carried with him and never let out of his sight. Everyday life mattered little to Spielberg. For a long time, he and his family lived in a modest house in the unfashionable Coldwater Canyon district, paying $49,500 for it. In the yard sat a shabby car he had bought for $400 at a sale. After the divorce, Spielberg purchased a vast mansion in Beverly Hills. Whenever his green Porsche was parked nearby, a chauffeur would immediately rush out at the sound of a bell to drive the famous master to his Malibu beach house, his country retreat. Steven Spielberg and his second wife, Kate Capshaw, live rather secluded lives. Outwardly, they seem to be a model family. They do not smoke, do not drink alcohol or use drugs, and never throw noisy parties. They spend their time together, coming home together, watching television together, and playing together. In the rare interviews that Kate Capshaw, a professional actress, gives to the press, one can detect a shade of anxiety. Spielberg allows her to act less and less each year. She fears that one day her husband might not let her leave the house at all. Those who know Spielberg well believe that he tends to see women only as instruments for his emotional stimulation. Steven often said that negative life experiences were extremely valuable to him as a filmmaker, that he learned from his own suffering. There were times when I literally screamed in horror, he recalled of the darker periods of his family life. The man in me was crying from despair, but the director in me would run to another room, grab the camera, and photograph myself in the mirror. I had to capture it. Truly, I cannot imagine myself as anyone other than a director. Was it this ability to extract value from everything around him that made Spielberg a titan of the film industry? Not just a titan, a one-of-a-kind phenomenon. He is allowed to do anything he wants. People fear him. Countless unbelievable rumors circulate about him. Funny thing is, all of them turn out to be true. Steven Spielberg, the star boy who never managed to grow up, conquered the entire world with his naive, childlike films. His success was greatly reinforced by his meeting with another Hollywood madman, the digital sorcerer, George Lucas. For a long time, Lucas was known mainly as the creator of Star Wars. Back in the 1970s, when he could not find a studio capable of producing the necessary special effects for his space battles, Lucas founded Industrial Light and Magic. It was this company that created the spectacular effects for Spielberg's blockbusters of the 1980s and 1990s. Lucas often acted as producer. It is said that the electronic genius immediately sensed the potential within Spielberg. Whatever the case, they became inseparable collaborators. Last year, a Los Angeles newspaper published an article titled, "The Golem of Beverly Hills." It claimed that Spielberg and Lucas had recently become fascinated with Kabbalah and the mysteries of artificial intelligence. The authors insisted that the digital sorcerer and the creator of Jurassic Park had decided to create nothing less than a modern golem, an artificial creature completely obedient to its masters. Journalists warned that the parents of the monster were planning a stunning stunt. During a movie screening, the golem would step out of the screen and start destroying the audience in the theater. The story sent readers into a frenzy. No one doubted its authenticity. After all, the phenomenal duo of Spielberg and Lucas were known to be capable of anything. Considering Lucas's technical genius and Spielberg's talent for always getting his way, people were ready to believe it all. And in that, he truly has no equals.